Hi guys, it's Kelly and I am back with another video. Today's video is actually part of Taheerah's Advent Extravaganza, and I am one of the surprise guests. It's super fun to be a part of. I'm thrilled that she invited me. And the sponsor for today is Waffle Flower, who's owned by Nina, who I know personally, and I think that she is totally amazing, and so just all around good people involved and something just really fun to be a part of. So shamefully, even though I love Nina, I didn't own any Waffle Flower stamps. So when I saw that I was on their day, I was like, I must go shopping. I mean, it was a hardship to make myself go shopping for stamps. I'm sure you understand. So I went and looked and I came across this First Step stamp set, which is super cute, and it has all of these little accessories to sit on top of shoes and just like kind of really encouraging sentiments. But I thought that the accessories for the shoes would look adorable on top of presents. So that's what I did. I stamped out the toppers and then I went in with my T-square ruler and drew myself some boxes. Here what I'm doing is I'm masking off some areas for the ribbon on two of the back presents, and then I am masking around the lines for this particular box because in the other set that I picked is called Cold Hands, and it's a very, very cute little winter set with little mice and they're ice skating, and but it has these cute little teeny tiny stamps, and I decided I would use those to create my wrapping paper. So I'm stamping the little tiny hearts on the front one. I did some large snowflakes on the bigger box in the back. And then for the one on the left-hand side, I did stars. A little trick that I like to use is I masked off where the ribbon was going to be. And rather than pull off the masking and have to line up my ruler with where the edges were, I actually just trace the masking paper while it's down. This gives me an exact line where it was masked off at, and then it's less I have to do with my ruler. Speaking of my ruler, once I had them all, because I did it all in pencil first, once I had everything kind of stamped and I knew that I was within all those lines, I went back in with a Copic Safe writing pen. In order to do a distress ink background, when you have something that you have hand drawn, like I have these presents here, I actually just made a copy on my computer, and then this is just thin, cheap copy paper, and I'm going to make it a mask by applying Tombow Mono multi-glue to the back. The way that I do that is I add it onto the back of the paper closer to the edge, and then I just kind of use my finger to smush it out all the way to the edges, so I know that it's going to hold and nothing's going to catch any of those edges as I'm doing my ink blending. So I'm going to go ahead and put that down. I will show you what colors I originally used, but don't get attached to them because we're not keeping it. So originally I did use the more olive kind of green. I did the clear water splatters, and then I used gold perfect pearls. Set that aside to dry. I didn't even show you any of that because we didn't keep it. So now here I am stamping my toppers again, and then also two of these little mice, which was not my original game plan. I have to tell you, my original game plan was not to include the mice in the card. But then after I was looking at them, I was like, they're just so cute and look like they're up to absolutely no good. And I think that they would look adorable, kind of like running around on these presents. And because very much when I was little, every Christmas Eve, I'm one of three girls. I have two wonderful sisters, and one of them is much older, and me and my middle sister are about 3 years apart. So every Christmas Eve, we would sleep in the same bed together and wait for our parents to go to bed. Yeah, so we could creep downstairs because in my house, they didn't put presents out under the Christmas tree until it was the night of Christmas Eve. There was no presents under our tree before that, unless maybe somebody dropped something off. But other than that, all of our gifts were never under there until Christmas Eve. And so my sister Kimberly and I would sleep in the same bed, and then we would wait for our parents to go to bed. We would creep downstairs and it's such a fond memory of mine, just like coming down the stairs and the Christmas tree being all lit up, and like all of our presents. We're very blessed to have presents underneath our tree, and, shaking them to see, if we could guess what they were, or like, oh, this one's yours. What do you think it is? And I cherish that memory with my sister so, so much. I could probably cry just talking about it, but I won't, because that would really not be good quality voiceover. So, but that's just kind of what it reminded me of, is these little mice like running around. Like, what do you think is in it? What do I think, is this one like my Barbie house? What do you think this is? So just kind of a fun way, for me to kind of remember how I spent my Christmas Eves. And so anyway, this jewel, all I'm basically doing is I picked five different colors, and I just kind of colored them sporadically. I filled in different areas. Sometimes I blended them within an area. Sometimes I didn't. Sometimes I left them completely white. And the reason that I did that is because if the light was catching a jewel, like if you look at, a gem in a ring, it isn't always the same because it is faceted. The light hits it in different ways, and that's what makes it so sparkly and beautiful, and that's why we want to put them on rings and jewelry and all that stuff. So when I was coloring it, I was trying not to be very particular about where the lines went exactly. For this little flower, I'm going to fill in the entire thing with my lightest color, and then I'm going to start going in and adding the shading. Basically, where 2 points meet is where it's going to be darker. So where these petals are overlapping, and there are quite a few petals in here. When the petal was larger, I did stretch the line out a little bit, but when it's small, especially like in the center or over on the left-hand side where there's a couple petals built up on top of each other, I'm really just adding a line of shading because I don't have a lot of room to add much more, and I want to get that depth in there. So I work from lightest to darkest, darkest back out to the lightest, and in something like this, your blending doesn't need to be perfect because it's such a small area that creating that depth is going to be what people are looking at. It's not going to be whether or not your blending was perfect. So don't sweat it. Just keep plugging along. I know it feels like you're doing the same thing on every single petal, and you pretty much are. I'm not going to lie to you. You pretty much are. But the end result, from adding in all the way out to that darkest color, and I know R59 is a dark color, but right now it kind of looks like a hot mess. Oh, you can see my little finger waving there. So basically when I was in the middle of coloring this, I listen to music all the time. It really doesn't matter if I am cooking dinner, doing the dishes, sitting at work, crafting. Some people like to listen to the television. I listen to my Pandora. And while I was coloring this particular flower, Boston's Long Time came on, and it is, if it is not the best, it is at least among the top 5 of rock and roll songs that ever came out. I love that song. That song makes me car dance every single time it comes on. There is never a time where I'm like, oh, I'm so over this song. I'm not. There's never, ever a time. And I can't sing, but I do anyway. So, because sometimes it is just about being happy and car dancing and having a good time. So that's what was going on there when I was waving my little finger around. Like, surely you guys have to have a song. I mean, I have multiples because I just love all kinds of music. When I was growing up, my parents did not let us necessarily have run of the radio in the car. We had to listen to whatever they were listening to. And my mother was mostly country. So for me, that would have been like 80s, 90s country music. If she wasn't listening to that, then her and my dad were listening to what I guess is classified as oldies, which would be like 1950s, 60s music. And so I grew up listening to all of those things. And I'm very grateful. At the time, I was like, oh my gosh, can you just turn on like Paula Abdul or whatever was popular at the time? But now I'm super, super grateful because I know all of this older music that is fantastic, because basically they forced me to listen to it when I was a kid. My husband's parents did not do that. They got to have, which I'm sure was great. Oh my God, I'm sure it was so wonderful as a kid. They got to, he's one of 4. and him and his sisters got to have run of the radio. So he doesn't know any of them. And I remember this one time, we were on vacation, and I have never seen the movie Superbad. I had never seen it, and they were watching it. And who sings that song? I can't even remember. Is it Paul Anka? I don't think it is. I'm gonna have to look it up now. But Craig, my husband, has this bad habit of when the last song that he hears will be the song that he sings all day. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's like a song on one of my son's TV shows or a song on the radio or whatever it is. He will sing it all day long. I have a funny story about that too, but nonetheless. So we're sitting at the table and he starts singing These Eyes. That is a song. It is a real song. It is a very good song. But in the movie Superbad, they make this kid sing it, basically. They're all like drunk at this party and they make this kid sing it. And so my husband's sitting at the table and he's singing it, and he only knows the first part, the These Eyes part. And so I finish it. Like, he's singing it, I finish the lyric. And he goes, "How do you know that song? You've never even seen that movie." And I'm like, "Babe, it's a real song. Like, that's not a song they just came up with for that movie. It's a real song." And he's like, "Oh, it is?" I'm like, "Yes, it is." And that has happened to us on like so many occasions where we'll be watching like The Voice or America's Got Talent or something, and somebody sings an older song and I know it. And he's like, "How do you even know this?" And I'm like, "Thank my mom and dad, because I know them." But anyway, so I didn't even tell you anything about this coloring, just rambling on about my life. But so the other funny story about my husband always singing the last song that he hears is when we were just dating. My best friend, which is how I met my husband, she introduced the two of us. Her ringback on the phone was Mrs. Robinson. Not a very common song for, I guess, somebody in her age bracket, and certainly not one that my husband would know, because as I just told you, older music, not really his thing. And we were on our way somewhere, game night or something with a group of friends, and we're in the car and he is singing Mrs. Robinson. And I looked at him and I said, "Did you talk to Taheerah today?" And he goes, "No, why?" And I'm like, "Okay, no reason." And then I was like, in my head, I was like, "Why is he lying to me about talking to Taheerah?" Like, so then all night long, like, I couldn't sleep. I was pacing. Like, I just couldn't fall asleep. And it was like, I don't know, like 4 o'clock in the morning. And my father gets up and he's like, "What are you doing awake?" And I'm like, "I can't sleep." And he's like, "Why?" I'm like, "I just have the weirdest feeling that Craig is going to propose tomorrow." And he was like, "You're crazy. Don't be a weirdo. Go to sleep, blah, 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 blah." Guess what? Girl's intuition. He almost blew the whole thing because he was singing Mrs. Robinson. He totally did propose the next day. And he did it like super cute. He reenacted our first date. And he knew that I wanted my family to be a part of it, but my husband's really shy. And so he went to great lengths to plan something for me so that he could be comfortable and I could have what I wanted. And so on our first date, we went out to dinner at Damon's, which is a chain restaurant. Then we went to Target, and then we went to Denny's to have coffee. And so my mother woke me up in the morning and gave me this little note. And basically it was from my husband, and said, you know, that he had a surprise for me and wanted to make, you know, today special and all of this stuff. And that I was supposed to be at Damon's at, I think it was like noon. So I get to Damon's and it's my sister. My sister is standing there and she has like a dozen roses, and she gives me the roses and then another note. And that note tells me where to go next. And like all of them have like this little memory on them. And so I get to Target and my best friend is there, hence why he's on the phone with her, right? And she gives me like some candies and then tells me, you know, gives me this other note, which directs me to Denny's, which I have to tell you is like 30 minutes away. And I'm like, he can't seriously expect me to drive out to Denny's. So but he does. He fully expects me to. So I get in the car. I drive all the way out there. I get there. It's my mom and dad are there. They give me my last note. And there was a Crown Plaza hotel across the street from Denny's. And it said, like, come across the street to make a new memory. And I was like, oh my God. So I was so, like, excited, nervous, like, walking down that hallway. And I just remember, like, there was a hotel key in there as well. And, like, walking down the hallway and opening the door. And, like, he's got our song playing. And he gets down on one knee. And it was just so much effort. And it was wonderful. And I don't even know how we get on the subject of how I got married. Or how I got engaged. But anyway, back to the card. God, he's a really, like, that was a lot of effort. I should tell him thank you again, because that was a lot of effort. But anyway, so I've done all the coloring, and I wanted to start adding in some, well, just like, I guess, some details, which is typically what I do. So I wanted to add some kind of white stripes to the blue bow. And while I was doing that, I realized that the reason my ribbons look so weird is because I never picked one to be on top or bottom. And so I had to go back in with that ruler and just make some lines through. It wouldn't just look like a geometric shape. Like, it would look like one layer of ribbon was over another one. So I did the stripes on the blue, I colored in the hearts on the middle one, and then I filled in just the dots of the snowflakes on the large blue one. I added some polka dots to that ribbon. I also added some small white dots to the flower topper and some white highlights to the gem. I added some white lines to the blue bow, so everything kind of was all matchy-matchy. I'm going to give these things some ground now, because they can't just be out there floating in space. So just, adding the darkest parts where those presents kind of meet and blending it out as I go. I did want to say, because I was too busy talking about stuff that I don't even know what. But the reason that I picked that green for the background is because I wanted it to give the illusion, quote unquote illusion, of them kind of being under a tree. That's why I picked the green in the first place. But I never loved it. Never. It didn't, I swear it didn't mean anything to me. No, seriously, I picked it because that's the green combo I've been using, but I was like, I should have gone with a different green combination. I should have, and now I've done this, and it is what it is. So I'm using the tape trick to stamp down my sentiment, which, again, don't get attached, because we're moving on. This is a fling for us. We're not staying married to this. I'm going to use foam tape to pop up my little mice, my little scampering mice, who are trying to see what their presents are. And I just thought, like, the scale of this was so cute. Like, these mice are so tiny and these presents look so huge in comparison. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna put some sparkle on it, because I love me some sparkle. So I did the clear Wink of Stella on the ribbon, on the gem, on the flower, all the little toppers. And then I'm going to go back in with Stardust Stickles, because I love them. And I added little spots of that to the gem. I added some dots to the flower, and I added a line of it on the blue ribbon. I'm going to accent the sentiment with the white Nuvo drops. And then I'm like, okay, I'm done. Card done. Here's the card. We're done. And then I looked at it for 2 days. I looked at it for 2 days, guys. And I was like, I don't like it. I spent all that time and I have something that I still don't like. So I'm taking it apart. Yep, I'm doing it. And I don't feel bad about it. So basically, I was very, very careful with the mouse on the bottom, because he sits directly over my presents. The mouse on the top didn't really matter so much. Once I got him up past the corner of the blue present, the background didn't matter because I wasn't keeping it. So now I'm going to cut it out. Because when I tell you I'm not starting over again, I mean it, guys. That's not just like something I say to encourage you. Like, don't start over again. There's always a way to fix it. No, I live it. I live what I preach. So when I'm cutting around the toppers, I am kind of angling the scissors so that it's not right up against it. I wanted to cut out some of the pieces parts. One of the things that I didn't like about the card is that I felt like those white hearts were just a little bit too busy. So I tried coloring over them with a red marker. I liked that much better. but I still didn't love it because you could just really, those hearts were just so busy. It was my own fault. I'm the one who created the pattern. It was too busy. So I'm going to go back in and do the same thing, the same way I colored it before. I'm just adding shading from the edges. But this time I'm doing it directly over the hearts, and I'm not going to do anything to accent them. I'm just going to let it be what it is. And I apologize that I'm off screen, but I was just in straight recovery mode at this point. Like, just figure out a way to make it work. So, but you saw it before when I was rambling on. And then I'm going to do a different Distress ink background. I decided to go with more the yellow greens. Now, the colors I shaded with, the Lucky Clover and the Pine Needles, are more blue-based. But because I have so much yellow-green, it's totally okay. They work together. Remember when you are watching this that it looks terrible. It looks terrible when you're watching me do it. And the reason it looks terrible is because I do mine twice. I don't make you watch it twice, but I do it twice. So, can you hear my dog jingling in the background? She must have just woke up from her nap. It's a hard life, I know. Actually, I say that bitterly because I'm so jealous that she gets to sleep all day. But nonetheless, I do my distress inking twice. So one of the things that I did not love about the card originally was these white outlines. I think that this is just a me thing. And because I typically make one layer cards and I do a lot of masking and everything is just very fluid and part of the same scene. So what I did was I found colors that matched my background and I just colored them, guys. So even though I did the die cuts, I did the whole deal, even though I didn't like them, like, there is still a way to fix that, because even though it wasn't the dimension that bothered me, like the fact that they were popped up above the other portion of the card, it was just that it was so obviously two different pieces. And so I just found a way to fix it. I did go a different route with the sentiment because I felt like the other one didn't show up very well. So I'm using Simon Says Stamp black paper. I treated that with my embossing buddy, stamped in Versamark, used Simon Says Stamp white embossing powder, heat set that, and then trimmed it down. For all of those of you who are my perfect pearl junkies out there, you were concerned I wasn't going to do it. No worries, because I thought I wasn't gonna, and then I couldn't break away. I am a full-blown addict at this juncture. So I did it with the white clean water. Did I just say that? What am I even talking about? Clean, clear water. Water is not white. Water is clear. That is what? Anyway, did it with regular water, folks. That's what I did. And then I put the Perfect Pearls in the color Perfect Pearls. Spattered that on. I thought maybe I was going to, since I had cut this out, I thought maybe I was going to pop it up. But I decided to just go ahead and glue it flat to the card base. I thought that it had enough dimension with these little mice and the sentiment. So when I pulled these off the original card, some of them, some of the foam tape either got left behind or it pulled up a little bit of the paper and then my foam tape wasn't sticky anymore. If it got left behind, I just replaced it. If it wasn't sticky anymore, I just put some Tambourine multi-glue on the back of it. The mice went back in the exact same position that they were on the original card. For the sentiment, I am also going to pop it up on foam tape. And then this sentiment originally says, "Sending Merry Christmas Wishes." I got rid of the sending because it was just too long and I didn't want to cover up that much of my presents. So this is the whole card. This is part of the Advent Extravaganza. If you have not heard of it, please head over to my blog. If you're watching on YouTube, there's tons of prizes, giveaways, lots and lots of just really talented artists. And it's a surprise every day, which I love because I totally love surprises. So thank you guys so much for joining me, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.